Now at 9, a former Commerce, Oklahoma police officer is charged with property damage from an incident that happened in Missouri. Plus,
a Coffeyville animal shelter is being accused of improper animal disposal and unnecessary euthanasia. I'm Fernanda Silva, and I spoke with two former employees to hear what they have to say.
And the Joplin School Board approves the addition of a crosswalk near Joplin High School.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dow Quick. Unnecessary euthanasia and improper disposal of animals. Those are only two of the accusations former employees of Coffeyville Animal Shelter have against the current Coffeyville Friends of Animals director. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has this story. We want to warn you, some of the following images and descriptions will be disturbing for some people.
The images are blurry because they might be disturbing for some people. It shows multiple dogs and at least one kitten decomposing inside an unplugged freezer. According to former employees of the Coffeyville Animal Shelter, the bodies were there for about 8 months.
The incinerator being broke, she wouldn't even put them in the fridge. She would put them in the pasture outside, and they were just decomposing. Even when the incinerator was fixed, she didn't take them out of that freezer and put them in the incinerator. She just let them continue to rot.
The person Chelsea is referring to is Oksana Watley, director of the Coffeyville Friends of Animals. Chelsea says that on a specific occasion, even though the shelter's incinerator was working, her former boss asked her to dump an euthanized dog.
She said, "I think I might just have Cody, and could you help Cody? Take him to the river." And that's how she said it. She mumbled, mouthed the words, whispered it, and I just kind of stared at her, and you did not just ask me that.
The former employees say the improper disposal of animals started in the second half of last year when Oksana became the director. They also say that animals were euthanized unnecessarily.
She would put them down just if she thought they weren't going to make it, even though they had an eye booger or something, She just kept coming up with reasons.
When we got litters of puppies and kittens in, she would euthanize them without even testing them to see if they were sick.
They tried contacting board members of the shelter and the city of Coffeyville officials, but no action was taken. The former workers also say donations they needed, like food, colors, and toys, would be thrown away. We tried contacting the shelter via Facebook, email, and phone calls, but couldn't get a hold of them, even though the Facebook messages appear as read. A person at the shelter say they were told not to comment on the case. In Coffeyville, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
We reached out to the Kansas Department of Agriculture, which is responsible for licensing animal shelters in the state. They said they received complaints about the Coffeyville Friends of Animals and that the Animal Facility Inspection Program is following up after the established complaint process. We also tried reaching out to the city of Coffeyville, but we have not yet heard back from them. It's hot out there. It's going to get hotter. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, it was a hot day for us today. Temperatures 4 highs all the way up to 100 degrees, well above our normal high of 91 degrees. We started at 74 during the morning hours. Heat advisories in effect Wednesday, Thursday into Friday. We'll see if that continues into the weekend. This is due to, of course, the heat and the humidity that we are going to have over the next several days. Had some showers, some little scattered thunderstorms, mainly down through central Missouri, but we have been staying on the dry side, and we are going to stay on the dry side throughout the overnight hours tonight. But look at our temps. We're still upper 80s to near 90 degrees. We still have a heat index. Still feels like it's 90, 92, 93, 94 degrees. And it gets even a little bit hotter over the next few days. Of course, we're going to break that down for you here in just a bit.
See you soon. A former Commerce, Oklahoma police officer is charged after allegedly damaging property at a Knoll, Missouri bar. The incident happened on July 8th. At that time, 32-year-old Christopher Chase of Miami worked for the Commerce Police Department. Authorities say Chase was at Shadow Lake, a bar in Knoll, when he threw a bar stool across the club against a wall near employees. Police were called and Chase was arrested. Authorities also say while in the patrol car, Chase began striking his head against the car and had to be restrained. A week later, Chase resigned from his position at the police department. Chase is now charged with first-degree property damage, fourth-degree assault, trespassing, and resisting arrest. Belton, Missouri authorities are searching for 2 robbers who assaulted an ATM technician and got away with a lot of cash. Surveillance images show the robbers who assaulted the technician at the Bank of America ATM on North Avenue in Belton around 10:30 this morning. Both are black males, one with a heavy build, one very thin. Police say they got around $200,000 in cash. They drove a newer model silver Jeep Compass with a stolen license plate on the rear. The ATM cash boxes were later discovered in a nearby apartment complex dumpster. For another look at these surveillance images, go to KOAMnewsnow.com. A Missouri Department of Transportation driver has died in a single vehicle crash. Crash happened just before 1 this afternoon in Lawrence County, Missouri. Authorities say a MoDOT oil tanker was driving west on State Route V, left the road, and overturned. 38-year-old Charles Toller of Dadeville, Missouri, died at the scene. Authorities say oil leaked from the tank, but it was not a threat to a waterway nearby. The Joplin School Board today approved the addition of a crosswalk near the high school. That crosswalk is going to be added to 20th Street, adjacent to the school. Officials say the safety of students crossing that street has been a concern for some time.
Of multiple students crossing 20th Street at different locations and the danger that was causing, both for traffic that was transferring there, but also as those students were crossing back and forth, maybe not making the best decisions that they could make as they were continuing to travel across.
That project's expected to cost more than $38,000. The district will pay half of that cost, with the city covering the other half. The board also approved upgrades to the district's security systems following 3 break-ins at district facilities in the past 4 months. Some area kids today learned a bit about what it's like to be a member of law enforcement. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office held a junior deputy camp. It started with demonstrations from canine officers. Then the junior deputies went to the shooting range and received lessons on responsible firearm use and gun safety.
To sit and talk with them. They can ask, they ask a lot of questions that, they've always, I just threw it out there, what question you've always wanted to ask law enforcement, and they can ask whatever question they want to ask. And we try to give them an answer. If we don't know the answer, we just tell them we don't know the answer. Because they can come up with some doozy questions.
The day ended with demonstrations of the dangers of driving while impaired with the help of drunk goggles. The young people also learned how to perform field sobriety tests. Coming up, we're going to hear from a mother who's calling for an animal sedative to be added to the controlled substances list. The animal sedative known as xylazine is further fueling America's drug crisis. Many dealers are lacing it with other drugs to create a deadly concoction known on the streets as trank dope. Now, one Pennsylvania mother is calling on the Biden administration to list xylazine as a controlled substance after she lost her son to a deadly overdose. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams has details.
Trank is having devastating consequences across the country. I talked to a mom, Loretta Mazzoni, who tells me about the call that changed her life forever. It was from the county coroner on Pennsylvania telling her that her son had overdosed.
They took him out by ambulance and they kept trying to give him Narcan, but Narcan does not work with xylazine. And they didn't know. They did not know that it was xylazine. They didn't know. A lot of hospitals don't know. And the Narcan wasn't working. And they tried to resuscitate him, and he died like within 15 minutes after he got to the hospital.
Dylan Curran was 32 when he died back in December after his family tells me he bought what he thought was heroin out in Kensington. That's a neighborhood with an open-air drug market in Philadelphia. But it was laced with fentanyl and the animal tranquilizer xylazine. Dylan's story is unfortunately just a glimpse into the death toll that trank is having on America. The DEA says it seized xylazine and fentanyl mixtures in nearly every single state. And just last month, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that the percentage of fatal opioid overdoses in which xylazine is detected is up by, listen to this, 276% just between January of 2019 and June of 2022. So the drug has horrible effects on humans, as we've talked about before. It causes people to walk around slumped over, pretty much unconscious, and it covers their arms and legs with large wounds. And here in New York City, the special narcotics prosecutor tells me that her team's going after these dealers. Investigators busting into stash houses, finding large bags of drugs just like this that have been cut with xylazine.
It's all about making the bucks. There's no concern for human life. It's only about money. So to the extent we can hit these organizations where it hurts in their pocketbooks, that's another effective tool.
So what's being done to stop this? Well, the White House is working to make this drug a controlled substance, so that would limit availability. And in March, President Biden asked Congress for more than $46 billion for nationwide drug programs, but nothing yet. Reporting in New York, I'm Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
President Biden wants to expand mental health care access. The president is proposing to change a rule to the 2008 Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act. It would make changes to health plans when they're providing unsuitable access to mental health care. The proposal will be open for public comment for 60 days. Administration officials say they believe it'll go into effect after that period. Late night snacking can impact your cardiometabolic health and raise the risk of heart attack and stroke. And that's according to researchers with King's College London. They also found people who snack during the day and choose higher quality foods have better blood fats and insulin responses. More than 70% of people report snacking at least twice a day. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later it's MIAA Football Media Day. We're going to hear from both the Gorillas and Lions about the upcoming season in sports.
Buzzcam.
Well, of course, it was hot outside today. We hit 100 degrees, fifth time we've done this so far this summer. We only average 1 to 2 times per summer. It looks good, though. Nice shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, Indigo, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. But look at these temps past couple days. Low to mid 90s yesterday. We only dropped back mid 70s, and we shot up near 100, hit 100 for us today. Heat advisories in effect. This goes into Friday evening. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday under heat advisories. We'll see if this extends into the weekend as the heat looks like it may even increase a bit as we go to the weekend. 87 Nevada, 81 a little cooler in Monette, 87 in Miami. Pittsburgh still sitting at 88. Parsons is sitting at 89 degrees. We can go outside in Joplin, 7th and Rangeline, 88. Still feels like 94 with that dew point checking in at 71 degrees. Look at our heat indices. Pretty much across the board, everybody feels like kind of 90 to about 94 degrees. So even when we get to our coolest time of night tonight, at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, it's still going to be near 80. All right, not much going on here. We had a few showers, which were right through central Missouri. You can see they just missed us, which it would be nice to get a little bit of rain. But these are all rotating around this big dome of high pressure right out across parts of New Mexico. The closer it gets to us, the more it shoves rain a little bit farther north and east. And that high pressure is really going to be in charge as we go through the next several days. So let's step through time for you. I'm going to stop it tomorrow morning at about 7 a.m. You can see a random little shower. Most of us are going to be dry, starting near 80. Now, we could get a few isolated little showers late morning, early afternoon. We have 1 or 2 that popped up for us today. So I'm going to go about a 10% chance for rain, meaning I think 10% of the area will get some drops of rain tomorrow. As we get into the afternoon, look at our temps near 100 by 2. And then I think most of us go to about 100 or 101 degrees as we go into the afternoon. Tomorrow night, we only drop back right around 80 once again. So it's going to be very mild. As we go into Thursday, again, slight chance for a spotty shower. High temperatures, once again, about 100 to 101 degrees. So it's going to be very hot. In fact, our future heat indices, it's going to feel like 104, 105 for you tomorrow. Carbon copy on Thursday, heat indices 104, 105, 106 as we go into Thursday afternoon. All right, day planner for you Wednesday, 81 start, 92 by noon. 99 at 4 p.m. We'll shoot for a high temp of 101. Of course, we're going to make these alert days because we do have that heat advisory. So if you are going to be outside, drink plenty of water. Also, the pets, they get a little hot too. And the sun angle is still pretty high. It's starting to drop as we go toward August, but still pretty high. So watch out for the sunburns. So 101 tomorrow, Thursday, 102 Friday, up to 104 by Sunday.
Wow.
Not much rain in that forecast, just very hit and miss.
This is an awful streak that we're already into, and it's not going to end for a while, apparently.
Nope, it's not.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up, cracking down on inefficient home appliances.
Well, the federal government may have some new plans for your next water heater. I'm Doug Luzader in Washington. We'll have more on new proposed regulations coming up.
With a looming strike that could have caused a major disruption to the U.S. economy, UPS and its unionized workers announced they've reached a deal. The tentative agreement comes less than a week before the current contract was set to expire. The Teamsters, which represent 340,000 UPS workers, called the 5-year deal historic, saying it includes higher wages for both full-time and part-time workers and air conditioning and delivery trucks purchased after the new year.
I think we can all breathe a sigh of relief that it's not going to happen. A strike in this magnitude with the volume that they handle, we don't have enough alternatives. So first, costs would have gone up. Delays would have increased in terms of products.
The union members still have to ratify that deal. FedEx pilots have rejected a tentative labor deal that would have had a 30% pay increase. The package included an equal boost in their pension benefits. The major objections from the pilots are not yet clear. 57% of the FedEx pilots who belong to the Airline Pilots Association voted against that proposed contract. The contract was reached in May and endorsed by the union leadership. The White House is defending new efforts to crack down on a number of home appliances, including water heaters. The administration says the move will ultimately benefit consumers, but as Doug Luzader reports from Washington, critics say we'll all be paying more.
Well, these new standards could still be a few years off, but this is similar to recent efforts to regulate gas stoves that have led to bans in some new construction. You may not pay much attention to your water heater unless something goes wrong, but the federal government has been looking at them closely, very closely.
So we want to make sure that we have the facts out there.
The White House was asked about this yesterday, and they may be treading carefully here after some blowback from earlier efforts to curb the use of gas stoves that led to bans in some areas for new construction. The new regulations could target both gas and electric water heaters, requiring more efficient designs, and the administration says that will save consumers money.
If and when it is enacted, it's going to help consumers save about $11 billion a year. That's what the president wants to do. He wants to make sure that we lower costs for the American people.
But there could be higher upfront costs, and new regulations are likely to go well beyond water heaters, including everything from gas stoves and clothes washers to ceiling fans and dehumidifiers. And there will be pushback from some on Capitol Hill.
This is not about carbon. It's not about climate change. This is about control. This is about more big government. This is about essentially nationalizing our energy sector as well as our home appliance sector and putting it in the hands of unelected bureaucrats who do not have to face the American voters in an election.
And the White House is quick to point out that these standards, if enacted, would not go into effect until 2029. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Up next, we're going to learn what makes this white dwarf star unique. A first-of-its-kind discovery, a white dwarf star with two completely different faces. White dwarfs are the remains of dead stars, but typically white dwarfs don't have one side of the star devoted to one element and the other dominated by another. Well, this newly discovered white dwarf, nicknamed Janus for the Roman god of transition, has two sides, one made of hydrogen, the other made of helium. Researchers aren't quite sure why the star has two different sides. It's possible that Janus is experiencing a rare form of evolution. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. How the Community Health Center of Northeast Oklahoma is helping people in need get nutritious food. Plus,
for veterans in Mount Vernon, it's Christmas in July. I'm Anthony Saviello with the story.
The Community Health Center of Northeast Oklahoma today hosted a community market and resource fair. Gave folks the chance to stop by, get healthy food from the food bank of Eastern Oklahoma. Along with the food, there were also resources for others to learn about what the area offers.
So we're just a regular doctor's office that is federally funded, and so we're able to provide care to those that don't have insurance, or if they're lower income, we're able to do a sliding scale basis.
That fair was at the First Christian Church in Miami. Christmas has come early for veterans in Mount Vernon, Missouri. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has the story.
For many of us, Christmas is a very special time of the year. And if you're like me, you wish it could happen every day. Unfortunately, this isn't the case. However, for veterans here in Mount Vernon, Christmas came a little early. The Missouri Veterans Home in Mount Vernon collaborated with the Carthage VFW Post 2590 to bring Christmas in July to the heroes of our country.
They gave so much for us that we try and give back what we can. And in December, everybody remembers this facility and these people. By July, not so much.
An event like this goes a long way to benefiting local veterans, such as Gary Worrell, a disabled veteran who served in Vietnam.
I tell you, it's unbelievable for me because the way it was in '69 when we got out, or '70, it's a lot better. People seem like they appreciate us, and I do too.
Appreciation for the many volunteers who took the time to care for and bring a gift to those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So while there may not be any snow on the ground or lights hanging up, Christmas in July still puts a smile on these veterans' faces. Reporting in Mount Vernon, I'm Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
The VFW, in collaboration with other organizations, was able to raise more than $6,000 to make today's festivities possible. A local Children's Miracle Network champion is beating the heat by making a summer treat. Freeman Health System partnered with Dairy Queen to allow CMN champion Layla Harrell to make her own blizzard. It's part of their Miracle Treat Day. The ice cream Layla created mint chocolate chip.
People are donating to Children's Miracle Network so then more kids can get service dogs that they need. And it's just inspiring, really, to see like, hey, someone with chronic illness can do this. Like other people can do great things too. Like it's just a really cool experience.
Now, all day on Thursday, $1 from every Dairy Queen Blizzard purchased will be donated to Freeman Health System. Nearly $20,000 has been raised locally for young Freeman patients since 2019. St. Paul Church's Vacation Bible School is hosting an event that's out of this world. It's called Stellar Shine Jesus Light. The event features a lot of space-like activities such as simulated crash landing on the moon and other science projects. One of the main focuses today, how to handle people who just don't get along.
Second day, our theme today was when people don't get along, shine Jesus light, and it talks about being harmonious, living harmoniously together. I hope that in a society that's so full of division and so full of culture wars, that we can learn to get along even when we disagree. And the kids do that. Maybe they could teach us adults a thing or two about how to get along and be harmonious, live harmoniously together.
Vacation Bible School continues until Friday at noon. Cherokee County Fair is underway in Columbus, Kansas. Gives young farmers and ranchers a chance to showcase their livestock, among other things. This afternoon there was a dog showmanship and obedience showcase, and in the, of course, pedal pole. There were also Girl Scouts at the fair to sell their treats and help prepare for the fair. To them, the social aspect is what makes the fair fun.
Just get to spend time with my friends, enjoy, and I also get to go a lot of places, and serve people and just do all this stuff.
It wasn't just about the animals and the Girl Scouts. There was also inflatables and Pride Carnival this evening. That lasted until 10 p.m. A bit later, lawmakers asking for answers.
The truth is out there. Lawmakers want to know more about UFOs. I'm Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. More on that story coming up.
Well, of course, a hot one for us today. We hit 100 degrees, fifth time that we have seen it so far, and we have heat advisories in effect across everybody except Benton County, where temperatures are going to be just a little bit cooler in northwest Arkansas. But heat advisory is in effect until 9 p.m. on Friday. We'll see if this extends into the weekend as well. But of course, it's still warm outside right now. Across the board, mid to upper 80s. We still have the humidity as well. We can go to 7th and Rangeline, currently sitting at 88. Feels like 94. Visibility is good, 10 miles. Southerly wind, it's been breezy at about 10 to 13 miles per hour. And if you look at our heat indices, it still feels 92, 93, 94 degrees across the region. Not much going on here. We have one or two isolated little guys that popped up late this morning into the early afternoon. We got showers down through central Missouri, of course, going around us, and then also some showers and thunderstorms way out across eastern parts of Colorado. Those are not going to make it here. We are dominated. Big dome of high pressure out across parts of New Mexico. It keeps most of the action across the northern plains, and then if you follow the arrows, it kind of drops south, but we're under that dome, so we're not getting much around here. We may get an isolated storm or two tomorrow and into Thursday, just not a whole bunch of action. All right, 7 a.m. we start near 80. You can see a few isolated little guys late morning into the early afternoon as we heat up near 100 by 2:30 by the evening. Most of us 100, 101 for an afternoon high. Tomorrow night we only drop back to about 80 once again, and then as we go into Thursday, carbon copy, isolated storm, high temperatures right around 100 to 101 once again as we go into the afternoon. So not much in the way of changes over the next couple days. Also, heat indices are going to be up there tomorrow. It's going to feel like 102, 3, 4 during the afternoon. It's going to feel like 102, 3, 4, 5 by the time we head into Thursday afternoon. Very consistent for the rest of the week. 81 to start, 92 at noon, 99 at 4. We're going to go for a high temp right around 101 degrees tomorrow afternoon. Plus, still it's going to be windy. We're going to have these southwesterly winds kicking in 25 to 30. So that makes it feel a little bit better at least. And then as we go into Thursday, the wind's not quite as strong, but still we're going to have a southerly wind at about 20 miles per hour by the time we head into Thursday afternoon. Let's go down the road. Friday, triple digits. We can go into the weekend, maybe a couple showers Saturday, near 100. Much of the same on Sunday, 103, 104. So we're in a pretty good stretch over the next week or so. Alert days, next 3 days, due to the heat advisory, 101 Saturday, 104 Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 100 on Wednesday, maybe down into the mid-90s, but not until late next week.
Isn't it sad that you used the phrase maybe down into the mid-90s?
I know, it is sad.
Wow, thanks, Doug. Coming up in sports, a chance to hear from the Pitt State of Missouri Southern football teams a month away from the beginning of the 2023 season. Plus highlights from the Outlaws' home playoff game tonight. John Dales has those stories and more coming up.
The MIAA Football Media Day took place today in Kansas City, and it's the first time in a long time we get to hear from Pitt State and Missouri Southern's football programs. And starting with the Gorillas, they're stressing their 2023 motto of all forward.
If you've ever been whitewater rafting, and like any good father would, you take your kids whitewater rafting when you take a trip back to Montana, and the captain in the back that's leading that boat when you're about to go through really rough waters is all forward, and everybody rowing the boat at the same time. And so I think regardless of where we are, regardless of a preseason ranking, regardless how the season ended, I think you have the opportunity to come together and we're all moving forward in the same direction.
And for people like safety Mike Lacey, 2023 is also about enjoying one last go-around as a Gorilla football player.
Coming from a bigger city and, feeling that atmosphere, and then coming to a smaller town when, the emphasis is football and how the town goes is how the football, goes. It's a different feeling, man. But the best part about it is that town is really family, and they support you in everything you do.
Meanwhile, Missouri Southern is emphasizing continual progress in year 3 under head coach Atiba Bradley.
When I took the job here, the mentality in the locker room, the winning mentality was a minority. And now moving 2 years past that, we finally got that to be the majority. Everybody is hungry. Everybody understands their role in the process.
I'd say it's just more of a complete team than what it's been in the past. And just a lot, the team's very tight right now. I mean, there's guys like me that have been here for a lot of different stuff, like 4 different offense coordinators and all that. So it's just kind of like, it just feels like we're playing for each other. We're not playing for our own individual reasons.
Now, both the Gorillas and the Lions begin their 2023 campaign with home games in just over a month on Thursday, August 31st. In baseball, the Outlaws earned the night off yesterday because of winning their division. Now, that set things up for a 1-game divisional playoff against Jefferson City tonight, where the winner advances to the Mink League Championship. Starting things out, Jeff City strikes right away, scoring 3 runs before the Outlaws record an out in the top of the first. More trouble in the second. First, it's Luke Matchner, who slides in just ahead of that tag at second. Same at bat. Eli Hill, the one at the plate, he tees off on a pitch to the deepest part of the ballpark, and it gets out for a 2-run homer. Just like that, we're only in the second inning, and it's 5-0. Jeff City on top of the Outlaws. Struggles would be just as bad at the plate for Joplin. Bottom 2, Jarrett Nelson bounces one to third. Great stop over at the hot corner by third baseman Justin Rivera. Gets the out at first. Still 5-0. Now we're in the top of the 5th. Runner on second, Luke Melton, lines one to center, just out of the reach of Garrett Chun. It would be that kind of night for the Outlaws. That makes runners on second and third for this chopper over to third base. Jared Lazo throws to first, so that's an RBI ground out. It's now 6-0 Jeff City. Later in the inning, pitch gets away. Renegades take a 7-0 lead on that pitch. They go on to win big. Looks like the Outlaws' season comes to an end in the divisional round.
That is a shame. It's just so sudden, just like that. It's not a series. It's a single elimination at this point.
It's the way it works.
I guess so. We'll be right back. A House panel today explored whether the government is trying to cover up information on UFOs. Fox News senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram has details.
The hearing addresses the most important questions of all time. Is there other life in the universe? And are there truly UFOs?
They keep telling us they don't exist, but they block every opportunity for us to get a hold of the information to prove that they do exist.
GOP Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett called the hearing. It features military pilots who've seen strange things while flying for the U.S. Burchett thinks the government has something to hide.
I guess you could say, why are they still covering up Kennedy, the Kennedy assassination?
One witness is former intelligence officer David Grush. He contends the military has pieces of a craft that is not from Earth and may even hold remains of an extraterrestrial pilot.
I was struck by the sheer amount of detail, and after speaking with him, I was convinced that the American people deserve to hear from him directly.
After the first hearing on UFOs in 50 years in 2022, Congress mandated the military document claims of UFOs in last year's defense bill.
We're not saying what they are or what they're not. We're saying that there's something our pilots are seeing. We're saying it has had an effect on some of our training operations.
Lawmakers say a lack of transparency suggests the government hides other things, too.
I mean, if they can do it here, what else are we going to give them authority to not tell the American people because they're interested in controlling and keeping us in a bubble?
The truth may be out there, and lawmakers hope this hearing sheds light on the question, are we truly alone? On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Coming up, how these specially designed hotels for seahorses are helping preserve coral reef systems. If your summer plans involve going on a vacation, odds are pretty good you'll be staying at a hotel. But located in the waters off Sydney, Australia, is a group of hotels reserved only for special aquatic guests. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty takes a closer look at seahorse hotels and how they could lead to healthier reef systems.
You've probably never seen hotels like this before.
Made from special biodegradable metal, these structures are called seahorse hotels. Marine biologists in Australia are using them to help give the white seahorse, an endangered species, new places to live.
The reason that these seahorse species is endangered is through habitat loss, so the loss of things like seagrasses and soft corals. So the seahorse hotels we place out into the wild, and over time they will accumulate lots of natural growth, including sponges and algae, and become a suitable habitat for all the seahorses, replacing that habitat that's been lost or degraded in the past.
And just like hotels for people, over time these structures will also go through some renovations.
The metal will eventually corrode away, and essentially it'll leave behind a small semi-natural reef, and this will allow the seahorses to inhabit it into the future.
But while scientists overseas are restoring reef systems, corals along parts of Florida may also need emergency attention. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says above average ocean temperatures are causing some corals in the Florida Keys to bleach earlier than expected.
They're starting to pale and losing their their algal pigments, and eventually we expect them to bleach fully.
The bleaching process strips corals of their nutrients, making them easy targets for disease. The average surface temperature for water around the Florida Keys has been 91 degrees. The average for this time of year is supposed to be about 85. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of a tiny poodoo fawn at the Chester Zoo in England. Let's make it a great tomorrow.